Classrooms at one time were places of calm, quiet and composed learning. Well, that day has passed, and today your child learns in a classroom that looks less like this one and more like this one. This is because playtime and learning through play is becoming a core element of infant education. So, what do children learn from play?
I know.
Well, we don't expect the children to know, because children learn best when they don't even know that they are learning.
Well, the project it's a video, and it's for the parents of the children that I teach in my class. So I teach junior infants, so they're age 4 and 5. And every year, in the beginning of the year, I would meet all the parents of the children, and I would go through kind of like a day in the life of the classroom and what they do, because I know when I went to school things were very different, and when parents went to school you kind of get the idea that school is the same, it never changes. So I wanted to tell them about how school has changed and how the curriculum has changed and what children are learning has changed. I used to do this every year, and I realised that most of the parents don't speak English. Not most of them, but a lot of them wouldn't speak English. And I used to stand up and I used to tell them about the day, and they'd nod and they'd go home and they didn't really understand what I was telling them at all. So I decided, once I started a course in e-learning, I started a master's in DCU, and I decided to use that as the opportunity to communicate in a different way with parents. So I developed a video which showed them a day in the life of the classroom and how their children learned, because it's so different to how I learned. How if they were educated in Ireland, it's very different, and then if they were educated in another country, I have no idea what that education system was like. So show them what their child is doing now, today. So that's how it came about.
These types of play fulfill different functions and contribute to overall learning.
Pretend play helps me to learn to read.
During pretend play, children enter into a fantasy world and take on different roles and characters. It helps them learn to cooperate, negotiate, and share. These are perhaps the more obvious social benefits. Pretend play, however, is also a very important activity in literacy development. It helps children learn to read.
It came about in very broken stages, because I was working with children. The planning stage, nothing that I planned actually came out in the end stage as video, because I had a vision in my head of what I wanted it to be, and then I couldn't script it because the children were supposed to be natural. It was supposed to be a day in their life, their play session. So there was nothing that I could script about it. I couldn't tell them where to move on the classroom in the set. It was all very much just a fly on the wall, just this is what goes on. So I didn't want it in the end to come out like a very produced and forced video, because it wouldn't serve its purpose. So in the planning stage, I would do play every day, so I tried to say, well, this is what will happen in the play session, and I'll video it. But as soon as I brought the camera into the classroom, the children froze and they didn't play naturally anyway. And I also had the other problem that I thought I'd be able to get sound on it, you'd be able to hear the level of language and development that would come out at the play session. But in a junior infant classroom, if you give them toys and if you allow them to play, the noise level goes up very quickly. So when I reviewed footage, I couldn't hear them, and it wasn't usable, any kind of footage. So in the end, I ended up just having a camera there almost every day, and when I'd see something that I think would be useful for the video, I used to just turn it on. So there were lots of times when they would be playing and the camera would be there and it wouldn't even be on, just so that they'd get used to having it there, and in the end they forgot about it. but that brought its challenges as well, because they used to forget it was there, so they'd knock off it or they'd walk across the screen when I was filming. So planning wasn't really an element of the video in the end. It was just as footage happened, I used to film it.
Creative play helps my imagination.
There is an element of creative play in all the other categories of play. Creative play offers many intellectual, social and emotional learning opportunities for children. It develops senses, innovation, imagination and complex thinking skills. During this type of play, children become inspired. They explore curiosities, make discoveries and learn to engage with the world around them.
This was the first year of using it, so every September before this I've just spoken to parents and told them about this is the day in the life of the classroom. So this September was the first time that I was able to show them. So I did feel it certainly achieved its purpose. They did get more of an insight into it, into what they do in the classroom. And I think the next step for me would be to try and encourage them to do the same at home. So when I showed them, it was always a secondary goal that they'd see this is how it's done in the classroom, and then they'd be encouraged to play with them at home, say, because you know, parents, they might leave children to their own device to play, which is what teachers used to do as well. When I was in school, teachers would hear reading when children were playing. I did want them to see how a teacher interacts with children and encourage them to do it with them at home, but I don't think I achieved that this September. I don't think there was enough in the video to encourage them to, this is what you can do at home to help your child, you can do this too. But maybe in a follow-up video it will be more about how the parent can interact with the child and can continue the work of school at home.
While the play session itself offers opportunity for learning and development, there is further learning which takes place both before and after play sessions, during the plan for play and the review of play. During the plan for play, the children discuss with their partner what it is they are going to do for the play session. During this stage, the children learn to engage with the other children in their class. They learn to listen to each other and to ask questions. After the play session, the children then review their play. During this exercise, children are given the opportunity to exhibit what they made, or to explain the role that they played. This exercise develops speaking, listening and confidence in children. I
think for any kind of media project work, it has to engage the audience, and I think that is the most important thing. I went through drafts of my video where it might have gotten the point across, but it was boring to watch, and my classmates were ruthless about telling me when it was boring to watch. And I think in the end that it has to, I mean, the video that I made is 8 minutes long, and it could be very easy to tune out after 30 seconds or a minute if it's not moving at a quick enough pace, if it's not engaging. So yeah, I think that's the key point that I learned from mine anyway, to make it interesting.